and enables the handle of the work in process. So, you know, as the work is in progress or process, you can really have a better feel of where it is, how it's moving. Are there any problems with that? How can I help remove the problems if they get stuck? So that's where you talk about blockages. You understand where there's a lot of effort going. You see where the waste is in terms of waiting, the other person waiting for you. For example, in the context of software development, we know that there's a build ready, but still the developers are not complete with respect to the code. They did not commit the code. The build has not been deployed into the test environment. And you know what? The testers are waiting and waiting because the testers are ready to start testing. They've got the test cases complete. They've got the test cases written up. They're waiting for initiating the starting the testing of the actual execution of the tests and run the tests on the build, but the build is not ready. So in that situation, what is happening? A lot of waiting time from the testers for the build to be delivered onto the and deployed onto the test environment. So that's a big, huge waste. And how can we avoid that? We can try and sync it up later. We'll talk about all the other mechanisms, how we can eliminate the waste in that context. So in terms of this, the Kanban, again, coming back with how you can better have a great grip on the work in progress, you come up with different planning options. That's where you come up with different planning and how you can structure your work in streams so that you don't have to have all this waste, all these waiting times, the huge inventory, and then also try and eliminate all the defects. For example, in the context of software, it's the defects. The defects also contribute to the waste because it's not just the time and effort that you spend in fixing the defect, but also in finding it. So the better, the earlier, the quicker in the process that you find in the life cycle that you find the bug or the defect, the better that you have to make sure the work on it, the effort and time is limited to in that extent. Because if you find it in the requirement stage, for example, if there's a problem and you find it in the requirement stage, you haven't even started developing, which is good because the developer's time has not wasted. But if that defect cuts across from the requirements through to the architecture, through to the design, through to the development, and finally in the testing, if you find it, it's got to go back all the way because there are so many people's efforts involved, so many times of the traceability steps that need to understand, and then you got to waste so much of time. And on the top of that, you need to rework. You need to do a lot of rework to fix that defect. But if it was caught earlier, then you have actually saved all these things, right? So that's why we say that in my parlance, that's what I keep telling people, that a defect is like a tiger. So if you kind of catch it in the initial stages, at the cup stage, you can try and manage it better. You can try and make sure that it's tamed or it's given the proper attention, it's put in the right place. But if it grows from the requirement stage all the way through to the design architecture, it's actually growing in its size and stature and in the severity. So by the time it actually comes to the development, if it's not caught even at the time of development, it turns into the crawling and prowling tiger, which actually destroys the whole application because it's unmanageable at that stage. So you really need to manage it at the stage of the cub, which is at the requirement stage, rather than at the stage of the fully grown tiger, which is down through to the testing or development. So that's the very sense of again Kanban. So it quicker output and outcome. It gives you a quicker output because you've actually destroyed all the blockages. You've ensured that it's all flowing through the pipelines. It's like pretty much like how water comes into the pipe and how it flows through. If there are blockages, if there are holes, if there are leaks in the pipe, the water would drip in, waste. If there are blockages, the water would actually kind of get constrained. Instead of having the pipe this way, this is the bandwidth of the pipe. And if you constrict it with all the blockages, it gets really narrowed down and the amount of water that comes out is actually reduced, isn't it? So if you eliminate those blockages, if you remove those leaks where it's actually dripping, then it would actually have a better outcome because you're actually expecting the outcome the way it should be. You get better water flow all the way. The same with the Kanban flow as well, with the workflow. Oh, that's a nice one. Workflow, water flow.